I know a lot of people say that the Democrats and the left have problems with messaging, but I found the 2020 message. Are you ready? We don't commit treason. Dyze in your house.
Nobody likes me. Nobody likes me. But that's okay, because I don't like y'all anyway. And I don't like y'all anyway.
When I used to joke about rising fascism in America and the fall of democracy, I really thought I was being, like, over the top.
Them Staten Island niggas still puffing them dust blunts.
Representing Staten Island.
I mean, like, all kidding aside, I'm a high school dropout. I never thought the words autocracy and kleptocracy would be in my vernacular. I just never thought that that would be a thing.
Them Staten Island niggas still puffing them dust blunts.
It's very, very difficult and frustrating to have progressive ideology living on Staten Island, or as I call it, North Texas. Example, your weed dealer pulls away and he's got a Trump Pence hat sitting on his back windshield. This is real life.
Representing Staten Island.
Them Staten Island niggas still puffing them dust blunts.
The most important thing you can do for me listening to this podcast is to not get sidetracked with distractions and nonsense. There is a person occupying the Oval Office who has committed crimes every single day of his life. And the only way to combat this is not to look at polls, it's to go vote in November.
Them Staten Island niggas still puffing them dust blunts.
Representing Staten Island.
Want to hear a little story about some of those people who are going to be voting in November? I'll tell you. People that value guns over children. People who think the South will rise again. People that think ending slavery was a failed experiment. White nationalists.
Representing Staten Island.
Them Staten Island niggas still puffing them dust blunts.
Be a part of ending the rise of fascism and the fall of democracy in America by keeping it locked to East Coast Radio, Dyze in your house, and hit the polls in November. Hey yo, who's in the house? Dyze in your house. What is the word, peeps? It is the week. It's the middle of the week, and we are coming to you live on East Coast Radio with another action-packed edition of Dyze in your house. This is the pre-show, the post-show, the prelude to the J Porks podcast, where every Monday we get into the long-form tales of corruption, deception, and fraud that are going on in our U.S. government right now. The leader of the free world is guilty of treason. How do I know that? He admitted it on national television. Will that make Republicans stop supporting him now? I don't think so. Couple of things before we get into the meat of the meat of today. East Coast Radio is for the least heard voices, and you can follow us on Twitter at East Coast Radio, and look on Facebook. Go at East Coast Radio, and you'll be directed to the J Porks Facebook page, where you can like everything. Listen, I understand that, you know, I don't have any friends anymore because they don't want me to post things on Facebook politically, so I've been trying to keep it off my personal Facebook and leave it on my Facebook, air quotes, fan page. So remember, follow on Twitter, like on Facebook. Also, if you really want to be a mensch, if you really want to be somebody who can help me out, what you can do is you can pledge to Patreon. Join one of the 3 tiers that we have available. We got a cheap one, we got a middle one, and we got one that's, a little more than middle. None of them are too expensive. None of them are more money than you. They might be more money than I have, but none of these tiers are going to put you in dire straits financially. And, you can get all sorts of things. Personalized artwork. Phone conferences with me. We'll have exclusive content only available to Patreons, to Least Coast radio heads. And if you go to patreon.com/jporks, you can read all about that, find out more about that. Alright, so what we normally do here on Dyze in Your House is we normally take one thing that's happening and we talk about it so I don't have to go 3 hours on Monday. As you know, if someone's name is not Conrad Thompson, no one is listening to a 3-4 hour podcast from them. So let's just move on from that. So there's a lot of things going on. Now, Monday's episode of the J Porks podcast is available now. You can go, if you need help finding it, go to patreon.com/jporks, and it's there. It's in the post section. Or you can find me on Twitter at jporks. You can go to jporks.com to find it. There's a lot of places to get it. iTunes. So you can listen to it, and that was on the heels of the Treason Summit. #Treason Summit. #Treason Summit. Which was the #1 trend for most of that day. So it was basically, I recorded a bit before, and I recorded a bit after. So it was basically almost like a reaction. But again, I just can't say it enough that this one of the saddest days in American history happened when treason was committed on live television. And you know what? I mean, it is what it is at this point. At this point, what are we gonna do? So you're wondering what Republicans are gonna do, right? And we know what they're gonna do. They're gonna angry tweet. They're gonna meet up with Casey Hunt in the hallway of Capitol Hill and tell her, I don't agree with this. He should walk it back. And then they're gonna do nothing. Absolutely nothing about it. Because that's what they do. They do nothing. Flake, Corker, you guys can huff and puff all you want. You guys aren't running for re-election. You guys are leaving. So don't sit there and tell me that you're going to stand up for the moral high ground of Republicans when you're not even going to be in the fold from 18 to, to when everybody tries to mount a primary challenge in 2020. But hopefully, here's the plan, because Republicans aren't doing anything. The plan is for us people who are not Trumpists. Listen, regular conservatives, normal conservatives, people that are conservatives for I don't know the reason to be conservative, but there are people for instance, regular conservatives support legalizing pot. Regular conservatives don't care if gay people get married as long as it's not in their church. You know what I'm saying? As long as their baker doesn't have to bake them a cake, they really don't care about it. So a lot of the policies that conservatives are about, some of them. For instance, you might see me retweeting people like Rick Wilson, John Schindler, these are Republicans. And it's Jay, why are you retweeting and following all conservatives? I'm following people that are Americans. There's a big difference between being a conservative, a Democrat, and an American. And what Trump did in Helsinki is un-American. It's like the Dead Sarah song. But that's not even the main. That's not my main topic today. So we even had to. This thing is so vast that we even needed to do 2 different topics on Dyze in Your House, which is a 1-topic, allegedly, podcast. But you know what we're talking about. We're talking about Maria Butina. That's what we are. And I'm not going to read an article about it, but we have 6 things from CNN Politics, the Clinton News Network. They have 6 things you need to know about the arrest, take away from the court documents relating to Maria Butina's arrest. Maria Butina is a Russian national. And the Russians sought back channels into the U.S. government. Butina and her mentor, Alexander Torshin. Alexander Torshin is the guy that he ran the Russia gun rights organization. They tried to start like a Russian NRA, but the problem is that Russia doesn't have any. You don't have rights in Russia. You don't have gun rights. They don't have guns. They don't do that. So Butina and Alexander Torshin, quote, took steps to develop relationships with American politicians in order to establish private, or as she called them, back channel lines of communication, an FBI affidavit filed in court says. These lines could be used by the Russian Federation to penetrate the U.S. national decision-making apparatus to advance the agenda of the Russian Federation. Leading up to the 2016 election, Butina sought to introduce Russians to Americans. She discussed posing as a go-between between herself and between powerful Americans and the Russian government. She also suggested in September 2016 to two Americans that they should work to build an advisors team on Russia for a new president. Following the election in 2016, she and Torshin discussed their predictions for Secretary of State and whether that was good for, quote, our people, the affidavit said. Pause real quick. The Secretary of State is it good for our people, being Russians? That's not America first. Hit the mic there for a second. She made connections with the GOP and the National Rifle Association. Takeaway number 2 from court documents. American society is broken in relation to Russia, she said on Twitter in a direct message to Alexander Torshin in 2016. This is now the dividing line of opinions, the crucial one for the election race. The Republican Party are for us, the Democratic Party against. 50-50. Our move here is important. The American person she was in touch with in 2015 told Butina she could help guide American-Russian relations after Obama and Putin left their offices. After Putin left his office. That's hilarious. Takeaway number 3. Butina was set up to influence both American politicians and corporate leaders. In 2015, Butina met privately with a political candidate. She also discussed a plan for Torshin to buy a plane ticket for a U.S. congressman to visit Moscow. Butina met leaders of one political party while being called a representative of informal diplomacy for Russia, the affidavit says. At one point in 2015, she and an American discussed a $125,000 budget for her, quote, special project to participate in major Republican conferences. The American told her she would have unlimited ability to meet American companies if she could be potential intermediary to the Russian government, the complaint stated. Later, following the 2016 presidential election, Butina and the Russian official discussed a possible pro-Russia conference that U.S. members of Congress could attend, according to the documents. Heyo, J-Porks here, back to recording my own commercials. And here's the deal. You may have heard me complaining on today's podcast or a previous podcast about suffering through a summer of unemployment. Well, we have a fix for that, and it is called Patreon. That's right. East Coast Radio now has a Patreon page, and all you need to do is go to patreon.com/jporks, and there are 3 tiers that you can subscribe to, 3 tiers you can join to become a member of Least Coast Radio, of the Least Coast Radio community, of Porks Nation. You'll even have a chance to pick the name and all that stuff. And we are not offering just thank yous and shout outs. We got bonus content. There is even a tier where you are able to talk to me on the phone every week. And we will go over what is happening in our country. And you could personally talk to me, Jay Pork. Personal interactions. There's a tier where there's a group. You can join a group and you can affect where the podcast goes that week. I need a community. I need help. Not necessarily money, but I need people to be helping me out. So therefore, that's why I created a Least Coast Radio Patreon. Not to be confused with a GoFundMe or a Kickstarter. This is not me with my handout. I have bonus content. Bonus content to offer you. I have tons of it. I have tons of time, and I want to give it to you. All you need to do is join us on Patreon. Become a Patreon. Patreon.com/jporks. Look for the Least Coast Radio Patreon page. You'll see me. You'll see me with a microphone and Dyze in your house next to the name. You'll see that. So just go hit us on Patreon. You will get a thank you. I will know that, and you will have a lot to do with what goes down on the J Porks podcast and everything concerned with Least Coast Radio. It's going to be a big year for us. 2018. Let's get it done. Okay. Back to our regularly scheduled programming after a little technical difficulties where people decided to call me during my podcast. Also, mistake by me having the phone not on silent. So let's go back. We were talking about Maria Butina. And following the 2016 presidential election, Butina and the Russian official discussed a possible pro-Russian conference that U.S. members of Congress could attend. And, fourth thing, she tried to get Putin into the National Prayer Breakfast. That's right. Some of Butina's work in the U.S. revolved around the National Prayer Breakfasts in 2016 and 2017. Butina allegedly raised the possibility that Russian President Vladimir Putin would attend the event in 2017. The demands? 15 world leaders at the breakfast and a personal invitation from the president. The prayer breakfast organizer responded that he would provide 10 seats to the event. Putin did not attend. And there may be more to come. Newly unsealed court documents show that prosecutors indicated in a court filing on Saturday their investigation into the Russian foreign agent had more than one subject. Quote, the government will continue its investigation after execution of the arrest warrant, prosecutors wrote to the judge, and disclosure of the arrest warrant would jeopardize the investigation by providing the subjects of the investigation an opportunity to destroy evidence or flee and jeopardize the investigation by disclosing the details of facts known to investigators, the identities of witnesses, and the investigative strategy. Court records indicate that a 2-minute discussion during her appearance in court Monday was still sealed. The judge initially agreed to seal the case so as not to give Butina a chance to flee or destroy documents, according to the court filing. She was directed to have, quote, patience and cold blood. This court filing has an overview of Russian influence efforts similar to that which Trump denied on Monday in Helsinki. Quote, Moscow seeks to create wedges that reduce trust and confidence in democratic processes, degrade democratization of efforts, weaken U.S. partnerships with European allies, undermine Western sanctions, encourage anti-U.S. political views, and counter efforts to bring Ukraine and other former Soviet states into European institutions, the FBI wrote. And torsion is also reflected on their spycraft and private Twitter exchange with Butina in 2016. Quote, it's not about winning today's fight, although we are striving for it, but to win the entire battle. This is the battle for the future. It cannot be lost, he wrote. Well, let's stop right there and I'm going to tell you this. Folks, if we're not going to the polls to vote in November, then the battle for the future is lost. Let me explain to you what this is. This is a Russian foreign agent who infiltrated conservative circles, including the NRA, serving as someone who can be a back-channel communication to the Russian government, the Russian Federation. Now, you might say to yourself, Jay, what does this have to do with the Mueller investigation? This guy Mueller, he's all over the place. Guess who? Guess what? This ain't Mueller. This is not Mueller. This is regular U.S. District Attorney. Regular U.S. District Attorney who is doing work. And this woman there was a criminal complaint about her filed on Monday or on Saturday. On Monday, she was arrested because you have all these Russians that are indicted in Russia, right? We had one here. Let's snatch her up. And in 2015, she was in a press pool, and she asked Trump a question about U.S.-Russia relations. And he said, I like Putin, but I thought you didn't know Putin. So the scope of this may fall into Mueller's jurisdiction, but right now, this is not a Mueller thing. Mueller right now is dealing with Manafort. And Manafort, there's some news in the Manafort trial that we're going to get to on the latest episode of the Jay Parks podcast, which is coming to you Monday. Now let's talk about what's going on, what's coming up in the future. What's coming up in the future is hopefully impeachment for treason and conspiracy against the United States. But since Republicans aren't going to do any of that, we, as people that are people on the left, we need to vote for young, vibrant candidates, not old white men. We need to vote for young, vibrant candidates who are going to represent what we represent, our values, what we want our future to be like, because we are the younger generation, and the young people need to win. David Hogg says the young people will win. They need to. Because now, guess what? The other day, real quick, Hillary Clinton tweeted something about, watching Helsinki, saying, after watching the World Cup, we all know what team Putin plays for. Now, we got to know what team you play for, Trump. And, Johnny Paps, John Papanier of the New York, the kid from Staten Island who runs the March for Our Lives thing, he retweeted it and he said, fair point, but you should be quiet, Miss Benghazi. You're not so clean yourself. This is the thing. He's an 18-year-old kid from Staten Island. He, believes Benghazi and Pizzagate probably because that's what he hears at his dinner table. But now that I see all of the March for Our Lives kids, they see that Russia funneled money into the NRA. Now they realize, now they're saying, oh wait, this is a Trump thing. This is about Trump after all. Remember when guns weren't about Trump? Yeah, well, when Russia funnels $30 million into the NRA, and then that $30 million goes to Trump, the most that the NRA has ever given to any political organization in the world. In politics, ever. Now we got the kids on it. That's what we need. The kids that brought down Lauren Ingram. They're on it. Repeat after me. Russia funneled money into the NRA to help get Trump elected. Russia funneled money into the NRA to help get Trump elected. Russia funneled money into the NRA to help get Trump elected. Keep saying it because it's real. And it's not a Robert Mueller witch hunt thing. Speaking of the witch hunt, witches aren't real. So who are all these people getting indicted? And Paul Manafort sits in jail while he may have some cozy conditions right now. He's still not built for jail. Also, Mueller has requested immunity for up to 5 witnesses and a delay in the Manafort trial. Interesting. Why would witnesses need immunity? Are they flipping? Has Manafort finally decided that he doesn't want to die in jail, even though he's going to die in jail? I don't know. But we will have more information on that on the next episode of the Jay Parks podcast, which will be coming to you Monday. Thinking about the weekend, it may come Tuesday, but if it does, that's okay, because I still need to go. I got a letter on the 11th that said I do not qualify for unemployment. I am ineligible to collect unemployment benefits, even though I work with special needs children, right? But then on the 13th, I got a letter that says you need to come here if you don't want to lose your unemployment benefits. So I'm not sure what's going on with this. Yes, I know I could have got a job, but it's the principle of the thing. I work in a school. You work in a school to get your weekends and to get your summers off. If I'm not going to get paid over the summer, if I'm going to need to get a job over the summer, you know what I'll do? I'll just keep that job. So something's going on. I don't know what it is. I blame my new temp agency for that. The temp agency I just started working for this year. I blame them. But this weekend, going to my girlfriend's house. We're going to see Pixies and Weezer. Yes, Weezer on the top of their game, and I'm going to go see them. We bless the rains down in Camden, because that's where it's going to be. Is it still the Is it still the homicide capital of the East Coast? Beats me. Either way, that's happening on Saturday. So I'm not sure my time frame of recording the Jay Porks podcast. It may be Sunday evening. Might do it Monday afternoon. Might be a little later. But it is nonetheless going to come through. So what you need to do is keep it locked to Least Coast Radio on Twitter. Follow Least Coast Radio on Twitter. We're going to try to get up some followers. And remember, if we can get Least Coast Radio to, I said 1,000 followers. If we can get it to 200 followers, I will share a video of me doing karaoke of It's the End of the World as We Know It without looking at the lyrics. That's a thing. There is full video of that. I'm not putting that on the internet for free. And I'm not asking for money. I just want some follows. So all you need to do is keep it locked to Least Coast Radio. Smash that subscribe button on YouTube, on damn it. Hit that subscribe button on iTunes, on Twitter. You can follow us, and hit it on YouTube, because there is a Least Coast Radio YouTube. That's where most of it gets. That's where it gets uploaded to, and then it goes to iTunes from there. And remember, folks, keep your eyes. Confirm all news you see. Get a second source. Because when you have the leader of the free world being treasonous and calling the press the enemy of the people, you know we're on the verge of fascism. Jay Porks, Dyze in your house.